だいまよりルームエリアではアジアスタートアップのグローバル展開戦略日韓台越が描く未来と題したセッションを開始いたします。本セッションは英語によるトークセッションです。テキストによる同時通訳をスクリーン表示いたしますので、合わせてご覧ください。では、ご登壇者の皆様をご紹介いたします。まず、パネリストといたしまして、お一人目、InnoLab Asia CEO、Cong-Thang Huynh様。お二人目、スタートアップアイランド台湾、ブランドストラテジーコーディネーター、チコ様。3人目は、マーク&カンパニー、インベストメントディビジョン、チームリーダー、チョン・ソウー様。そして、こちらのセッションのファシリテーターは、株式会社ゼロワンブースター取締役、川島健がいたします。それでは皆様、よろしくお願いいたします。
はい、ありがとうございます。ゼロワンブースターの川島と申します。じゃあちょっとこちらのセッション早速始めていきたいと思いますが、どうですかね、翻訳の精度はどうですか、大丈夫そうですかね。はい、ありがとうございます。じゃあちょっとまずそうですね、今回皆様結構いろんな国から集まっていただいてですね、こんな素晴らしい場を設けれることができました。はい、ですのでちょっとここからですね、まず皆さんの会社がどんなことをやってるのかと、でかつこの海外展開っていう文脈ですね。特に台湾と韓国のアクセラレーターさんって最近日本進出支援結構力を入れられていてですね、後ほど私も少し説明させていただきますが、かなりの数が韓国と台湾からこの2024年ですね進出してきてますというのがあるので、ちょっとそのあたりの活動も含めて紹介いただこうかと思ってます。でベトナムのイノラボさんですね。でベトナムからジャパンというよりも結構ジャパンからベトナムとか別の国からベトナムみたいな形で展開先として結構今人気があるというか、東南アジア盛り上がっているというところで、そのあたりのお話をちょっとぜひまずは、簡単に伺っていこうかなと思っております。はい、ということで、じゃあまずは、スタートアップアイランド台湾のコチさんからご説明いただければと思います。コチさん、please explain your.
Thanks, Takeru-san, and thanks everyone for joining. I think I just have 3 minutes to briefly introduce about Startup Island Taiwan. Startup Island Taiwan is a Taiwanese government project, and we want to make. I think people think of semiconductor. They will think, oh, Taiwan is very strong, so we want to have this brand image in startup too. So we have a Startup Island Taiwan. We hope that this is a brand people think of Taiwan, people can think of startups. And for Startup Taiwan, we frequently come to Japan. Like we host a very big event this year in TIB, last year in Shibuya and Roppongi Hills. We host a big Japan-Taiwan summit. We have collaborated with JETRO, Tokyo Metropolitan Government, all these partners, and Zero One Booster. And we also have a lot of. We also bring startup delegation to Osaka, to Fukuoka, to different Japan city to expand the business. And I just want to mention that we don't just have TSMC. Also, YouTube co-founder is Taiwanese, and Twitch co-founder and NVIDIA co-founder Taiwanese. And we have Yahoo, Trend Micro is an IPO company in Japan. And also NAD CEO is also Taiwanese. So we hope that through the Startup in Taiwanese project, we can connect these tech people in Taiwan and have them to help more Taiwanese startups to connect maybe with Japan or Korea or Vietnam. And this is some current unicorn in Taiwan. APL is also IPO in Japan, I think, in 2021. And 91 APP, GoGoRo, they are all IPO. Some IPO in the US, some IPO in Taiwan. And this is just a briefing about what we do. We just frequently bring startups to Fukuoka, to Kyoto, to different Japan cities to help them promote them in Japan. And not only in Japan, we also bring startups to CES. We have a very big pavilion in CES, and US Berkeley, or we also have in Silicon Valley we also host our own event, Taiwan Demo Day. And in Europe, we also attend Viva Tech, Web Summit, all these global events. We will have government power to bring Taiwanese startups to attend. And not to mention Southeast Asia, we also attend Singapore's Switch and Texas from Indonesia, from Vietnam, all these events we bring startups to expand to there. Okay, thank you everyone.
Thank you, Coach-san. So Isaac-san, please
Okay, it is nice to see you. Thank you for the Booster to invite me. Yeah, we are an American company, Korea. We are venture capital in Korea, and also we are running some platforms. Let me introduce our company. So basically, we are doing some investments, usually targeting to SaaS, cloud, or sometimes deep tech startups. And we have funds for the early stage startup from seed to pre-A, or sometimes we do investments to Series A startups. And our focusing is like we are trying to find companies, enterprises to collaborate with startups. So we call it is open innovation. So using our platform, we are doing some connections from enterprises to the startups, or oppositely startups to enterprises to connect and make their new business, or sometimes make them to invest in. So we are here to find any partners in Japan, like startups or enterprises who are interested in Korean startups. And this is our program with Jerome Booster this year. So we call it Global Express Program, supported by Korean government, Seoul City. So we are trying to help Korean startups to get into the Japanese market. So what we do first is find some business partners or mentors to understand the market of Japan. And also after that, we directly visit to the Japan market to meet some business partners by thanks to like Jerome Boosters or other partners who can connect the enterprises in Japan. After that, we are making some like demo days or IR pitchings for those startups to get some global funds, global investments. So, and also from next year, we are trying to expand our program to Southeast Asia or Japan again. After that, we are going to North America or Euro market. And this is our platform called InnoForest, or in Japanese, Kakushi no Mori. This platform is we are gathering some growth database of startups, almost more than 80 categories of startups. So we are tracking their timeline to understand how they grow, how they sell their products or services, and also the informations of investments. So more than 10,000 of companies' database are gathered, especially in Korean startups. But we are now trying to gather some Japanese startups data, and also the partners of Japan to collaborate with Korean startups. So if you scan the QR, you can see the page of startups called Gangnam Onni. Korean startups got into the Japan market. So you can see the page of this in Japanese. And then what we do invest, then we just put the name of the company like Jerome Booster, and then we analyze that company. But if we don't know the name of the company, then we can find the category or region or sometimes their investment status. We sort it and we can find the list of companies those we are targeting in. Then we call it, this service is Growth Finder, by using our gathered database of startups. So we think that this can work to find good startups which are growing, and also make some open innovations or investments things by using these tools. So this is our company, and our database and our services are using by Korean companies, enterprises, or even Korean governments using these databases officially. So if you're interested in our company, please scan the QR and enter the government information, then we will contact you. Thank you.
Thank you, Alex-san. So now is your turn, Thang-san.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Thang from Vietnam. So I've been supporting the startup ecosystem since the last 12 years. And I was lucky enough that I was with the think tank that we can support the policy. But in order to understand what the government is looking for, and from there, we help them to suggest good policy to support the corporate and the startup. So that's why I am the fellow for the Australia-Vietnam Policy Institute. I am on the board of Global Advisory Committee of TAIWAN Center for Creativity and Economy and Innovation. So I also been with the Sweet Economic Forum, so set up by Vietnamese government and Sweet government. So why I sit on this thing? Because first, most of the accelerator and incubator, they just do their work in terms of support the startup, but they don't know how to get the government involved. Why I sit with this organization, it's easy for me to know what the government is thinking, and from there, how I can support the startup and the corporate better. So that's why in Asia, we do a lot of program. So from my company, as you see, it's from InnoLab Asia, but around us, we have the ecosystem to support. We have the tech company that we can help the startup to build the MVP. If the founder come to us, they say, okay, I just have the idea. I don't know what to do. So then we have the tech team can help them with that. We have the law firm which to help them to set up the company if they need it or they face some of the legal issue. We have the education organization which we equip the startup founder with some skill that they need for it. At the same time, we also do it really closely with the government to make sure that when the startup they need some support, the government is there to support them. That's why our ecosystem is quite strong, and we can help not just the startup but also the big corporate when they want to run the acceleration inside their company. And as a Vietnamese, so my company based in Vietnam, and we help a lot of foreign startup and foreign company to penetrate in Vietnam market, and we help the Vietnamese company to scale up. So this is our local and international partner. So we have partner from government, corporate, VC, accelerator, and incubator. We also have a network with the university, because at the end of the day, I think the university is the one that should influence the market. And if we do it correctly, we should have the strong tie with the university. And next year, on the 5 and 6 November, so we have something called Vietnam Innovation Summit. So normally when the events happen like this, you can have the article that write about your event about 20 newspaper. But in my event, when it's happened, we have 120 newspaper. We reach to 1.2 million view across the country and the region. So that's why hopefully that we can welcome Japanese entrepreneur and ASEAN community to join us next year, 5 and 6 November. Thank you.
Thank you, Tan-san. So, yeah, I was in Vietnam Innovation Summits like last year. Unfortunately, this year I couldn't join that, but it was quite vibrant events, and I think if there are any startups who have an interest in Southeast Asian market or Vietnamese market, please just join it. It's a good community. So anyway, let me quickly introduce about myself and my company. And maybe in Japanese could be better, so I'm gonna explain in Japanese from here. 川島と申します。はい。で、私今ゼロワンブースターではこのグローバル関係のところを結構メインでやらせていただいてるんですけども、もともと自分でも SaaS 系で起業したりとか売却したりみたいなことをやってる人間になっております。で、今日ゼロワンブースターカンファレンスという名前でやらせていただいてるんで、ゼロワンブースターのことはもしかしたらご存知かなとは思うんですけども、事業創造の力で世界を変えるというミッションで、結構いろんな活動をしている会社になってます。海外って文脈ですと、日本スタートアップの海外進出支援だったり、あとまさに今年マークさんとかスタートアップアイランド台湾さんとかとご一緒させていただいたような海外スタートアップの日本進出支援ってところですねがあったり、あとコワーキングスペースやってたり、ベンチャーキャピタルやってたり、アクセラレーターがあったりということで、事業創造につながることは何でもやるという形でやってます。で、これちょっとめちゃくちゃちっちゃくて見づらいんですけど、いろんな活動やってきているというようなところですね。はい。で、今回ご登壇いただいているこの3社の皆様、今年いろいろご一緒にお仕事させていただいた企業様になってまして、プレスリリースいろいろ出させていただいてるんですけども、マークさんとは韓国スタートアップの日本進出というところ、スタートアップアイランド台湾さんとも台湾スタートアップの日本進出ですね。 で VI イノラボさんとは VIS、今年弊社も私はちょっといなかったんですけど別メンバーが参加させていただいていて、でかつ今東南アジア進出検討中のスタートアップ企業さんも連れて行ってですね、現地でビジネスマッチングとかいろんなアドバイスみたいなこともやってたりしてたというところになってます。はい、なんでそんな感じの海外活動いろいろやっていてですね、その一環でちょっとこれ告知にはなるんですけども、来年の2月ですね、これ場所は沖縄なんですけども OIST っていう沖縄の結構有名なちょっと特殊な大学があってですね、そこでアジア中のトラベルテック、旅行関係のスタートアップとか、あとはエンタメとか小売とかですねのスタートアップの方が集まるイベントを開催予定でして、で、すでに韓国、台湾、香港、マレーシア、シンガポールとか、いろんな国のアクセラレーターさんとかスタートアップが参加する予定になってますので、よろしければこちら参加費無料だと思うので、ぜひ遊びに来ていただければなというところと、もう一個だけすみません宣伝させていただくと、もう一つ弊社で今ジェトロさんと一緒に海外スタートアップの日本進出支援やらせていただいてるんですけども、こちらに選ばれたスタートアップの方の、オンラインでのイベントが1月にありますので、こちらもよろしければご参照いただければと思います。はい、ということでここからちょっとパネルディスカッション本題の方に入っていきたいと思いますが、日本×グローバルということで、日本がどういうふうに見られているのかとか、もしくは日本に対する期待値ですねが何なのかみたいなところをちょっといろいろ聞いていきたいと思うんですけども、ちょっとここから少し英語で説明をさせていただきますね。So this is kind of a quick overview about the current status of a Japanese startup ecosystem, like multiplied by global. So we have, according to our research, we have roughly 20 programs regarding the global market access from Japan. So global is global, quite in general, not limited to Taiwan, Korea, or Vietnam. It's for any kind of countries. And roughly 300 startups are selected for that kind of programs. So we can say annually, we have 300 startups trying to go out from Japan. On the other hand, if we look at Korean startup and Taiwanese startups, which try to approach to Japanese markets, it's only about Japanese market. From Korea to Japan, for example, maybe this number could be wrong, but according to our research, by just Googling, we found 12 programs and which are covering around 200 startups only for Japanese market. And from Taiwan side, we found 6 programs and 160 startups are selected only for Japanese market. So I think these numbers telling a lot, because from Japan to any country it's 300, but from Korea or Taiwan to Japan, it's 200, right? It's so different, I think. Sorry, Tan-san, I couldn't find the Vietnamese data, so I skipped that part from my research. But maybe from Vietnam to Malaysia or Malaysia to Vietnam, maybe the situation could be similar. It's quite global. And Japan is trying to be more global, but there's still a huge difference, I think, around this area. So that part, let's discuss, and let me go back to the first slide here. Okay. So I think my first question, I think this could be the question which every audiences have in their minds. Why Japan? I think that's a point I want to ask everybody. How do you position Japan in your ecosystem, and why you choose Japan for their market access point, or for Vietnamese market, maybe they're kind of the potential country which send startups. What are going to be your opinions? Please answer one by one.
I first? Yeah. Oh, okay. So I think actually because a lot of Taiwanese live in the U.S. because of some special relationship. So 5 years, 10 years ago, the number one market for Taiwanese startups should be Silicon Valley, should be the U.S. But just recently, maybe these 3 years, everyone just, when I interview startup, because I used to be a journalist, I interview startup, even if they are C round, they will say, oh, they're gonna IPO in Japan, and everyone is gonna come to Japan. It's just starting a buzzword for Japanese market in Taiwan. And I think because apparently going to the US is quite hard because the geo is very far away, and also it's different market and it's very competitive. But for Japan, in terms of Taiwan and Japan, a lot of Taiwanese who can speak Japanese language, and Taiwanese people just love to travel to Japan, and a lot of people are very familiar with Japan. So and we cannot do business in China. So Japan is the biggest economic entity in the Asian area. So that's why I think Taiwanese startup, everyone just say, oh, we want to go to Japan, this market.
Yeah, that's interesting because I think before COVID-19, I talked with a couple of our Taiwanese accelerators, but at the time, actually from my kind of feeling, their primary focus was in Southeast Asia. So Japan, of course, they care a little bit about that, but Japan was not in their kind of first priority in Asian markets. So is this kind of a new trend? Why this change happened for Taiwanese ecosystem?
Yeah, I think that's. I just feel it's so sudden that after the COVID, everyone just say we're gonna expand to Japan. So I think it's also a relationship with we cannot go to China because maybe before COVID and before the China and the US, their relationship is gone bad like this. I think a lot of people go to China, but now the people go to China just turn to Japan, and that's why suddenly Japan is the number one overseas market for Taiwanese.
I understand. So how about the situation in Korea, Isaac-san?
Because it is closest country in Korea, from Korea, just joking. Let's say in case of Korean government, they are so enthusiastic to support Korean startups. And in terms of startups, Japan is close to contact. So every Korean startup consider as the first targeting market to go abroad. But it doesn't mean that it is easy to access the Korean client or Japanese client or Japan market. But anyways, usually Korea think that we are in the same ecosystem or a similar ecosystem with Japan in case of startups. So it is, I think Korean startups think that it is they might have chance to enter Japanese market. And Korean government, they make many initiatives or programs to support those kind of program, called global program, to help startups getting to the Japan or Taiwan, Vietnam market, to onboarding to that market for the startups.
I see. So then let's take a look at the opposite side. So from Vietnam to Japan or Taiwan to Japan or, sorry, that's exactly same side. my apologies. So Japan to Vietnam, Japan to Taiwan, that's kind of topic. So I think Tan-san, I want to ask you a question. So as I explained in my presentation, so going global, it's kind of a new topic for Japanese ecosystem. So we have 300 startups are in part of that kind of program, but still we don't see many startups are really operating in other countries, including Southeast Asia. So how do you see this kind of inbound trend from Japan? And if you can compare with Korea or Taiwan or other kind of our ecosystem, how do you analyze Japanese, a characteristic of Japanese startups?
Well, thanks. It's quite interesting that if you interact with the Korean startup, Japanese startup, Vietnamese startup, Taiwanese startup, Singaporean startup, Thai startup, Malaysian startup, you will have kind of view like this. It's quite interesting. If you met the Singaporean startup, if they can achieve, let's say, 5, they're gonna marketing and they sell really well to market at 7 or 8. Malaysian, they gonna low down a bit, so if they are 5, they're gonna sell they are 6. But Japan and Korea is quite interesting because if, let's say, the Korean can make it at 8, they're gonna PR them at 10. And if the Japanese, they make it 8, they're gonna say they are 6.5. And it's really hard to explain and learn how they think this way. I don't understand. Because, don't get me wrong, Japan is one of the country that develop really fast, but they can keep their culture. And when people talk about why don't we set up the call center in Japan, they say how can the Japanese speak English? But now the Japanese open more, so you see a lot of young generation that speak English quite well. But Japanese speak Japanese, but they still rowing really fast. So how can they do it? That kind of spirit, I really want to know. And you know, that kind of culture that keep the Japanese as a Japanese and proud to be the Japanese, to speak Japanese, that make you guys totally different, and that make us to learn more about you.
So actually, culture is kind of the biggest barrier for market access, I think. So, like, it's also difficult for foreign startups too, like which trying to get into the Japanese market, because every business deals, business discussions need to be in Japanese, especially with enterprises. So we supported like a lot of startups from various countries, but like Korean startups or Taiwanese startups, they can find some Japanese speakers because there are a certain population which have which can speak Japanese. But for like US startups or other startups, like they are so like they cannot find the right person for that. So I think that's one of the reasons why like Korean startups or Taiwanese startups are little bit more successful than other nationalities, because they can have Japanese speakers and have like kind of pretending like a Japanese company. So I think that is kind of a key success factor for market access to Japan alone. Anyway, like what do you think, like Kochi-san or Isaac-san, about like opposite side? Like I see like there are so many startups coming from Korea and Taiwan, but do you see many startups from Japan to Taiwan to Korea? Like how the situation? And I want to know why it's a lot or few.
To be honest, I don't think Taiwanese market is attractive to Japanese startups. And so I think the only part that Japan and Taiwan can collaborate is in some specific industry, maybe like semiconductor, because we have some technology and Japan has maybe design skills, and we can have the one-stop solution together, or some other smart manufacturing or biomedical, this kind of specific area we can collaborate. But I don't think like we just attract Japanese startups to come to Taiwan to do the business. It's particle.
Market size is just different. Like from population-wise, GDP-wise, Taiwan is quite big, but like a lot of things coming from our semiconductor industry. So let me show you, like each country has a kind of strengths and characteristics of industry. So for that part, maybe there could be some rooms for collaborations, like open innovations. Yeah, that's right. How about in Korea?
Almost same with Koji-san. Like, you know, Korean market is also almost small. It's small. Like, you know, popularity is Japan is more than twice than Korea. And let's say about the contest market. You know, K-pop, K-contents are popular in global, but you know, Korean contest market is like almost like half of Japan contest market. But anyways, I think Koreans are usually diligent and enthusiastic to work, so they do fast, they work hard, and they make everything in digital. So I think nowadays Korean startups are good at make things in digital. So Korean startups, I think their chance is going to, when they go to the Japan, then maybe Korean startups, when they do their abilities like making digital things go to like when they go into the Japanese market, then it works. But I'm not sure about Japanese startups come into Korea. But if possible, because Koreans are so fast to do something, it means that you can test everything in Korea very, very fast. So if Japanese startups or Japanese enterprises want to evaluate their new business or find test bed to check new business in Korea, it can be very helpful. And also you can find any business partner in Korea, even enterprises in Korea, because they are so open to collaborate with, like saying, open innovation. So not just entering Korean market, but for using testbed as a entering global market, Korea will be best choice, I think.
I see. So I think the good part of the Korean market is it's very similar to Japanese markets in many industries like car, because we have same with Taiwan, I guess. we have the common social issue like our depopulation. So definitely digital transformation or software service or like AI with BPO, that's kind of solution going to be more than welcome in a lot of industries. So I talked with a couple of our Japanese startups who started to operations in Korea, and everyone said it's kind of same thing like our. So market itself is of course smaller than Japan in some industries, but still like our very similar structure. That means like our they can access or go to Korea with a similar kind of solutions. So localization, that is a very difficult part for global market access, I think. And if you go to United States, everything has to be changed, I think. Yeah, including product design or concept or finance strategy. But Korea, Japan, and maybe Taiwan, like are not that significant difference. I think that is a kind of our part of attractiveness of the market. But still, like this is gonna be the kind of next question for you guys. So. You want to say something?
I want to ask one question for Takura-san
Sure,
because
please.
as
Yeah.
just said that Korea can be like a test bed for Japanese startups that POC in Korea and expand to global market. And I also heard the same method for Taiwan. People say that Japanese startup can come to Taiwan to do POC and expand to global market. Then from Japanese perspective, what do you think is the difference between through Korea or through Taiwan?
But I think a lot of similarities, like our, for example, cybersecurity markets. We don't have many cybersecurity business here in Japan. But if you look at Korea and Taiwan, there are like a couple of very good cybersecurity startups because it's really necessary, right? From our like a geopolitical perspective. So I can see a lot of similarities, but from industry-wise, maybe like a different kind of our sectors or different kind of our clusters are there. So and also I think there's another comment on POC thing. So. Like a lot of our local city governments or countries say you can do POC in my area, but I'm not sure whether it's attractive or not because POC we can do that anywhere, right? So from legal perspective, some business is difficult, but it's only limited area. So in general, we can do POC in any kind of countries, and it's going to be too just challenging to move office or to hire some person in other places just for POCs. But anyway, let me move on to the next topic, which is about like how to increase the connectivity. Like, because Tan-san, like you're from Vietnam, and I think they were quite good slides, and I think you skipped it a little bit, but you're trying to make Vietnam as a kind of a hub of our Southeast, not only with Southeast Asia, but also with East Asia. I think that's got this kind of very bold vision. So, but anyway, the uniqueness of Vietnam or Southeast Asia countries is it's well connected. Like it's well connected from a financial perspective and business perspective. So, how do you think about the connectivity of Southeast Asian markets, and what kind of elements gonna like make sure that's connectivities? Tan-san?
Well, I think the opportunity for investment and startup and everything we can combine actually now in Asia. And the problem with Asia is that we have, for ASEAN, we have 11 countries with different culture, different regulatory complexity. And if as a market, it's more than 650 million people. And let's say Korean facing with the aging population, Japan facing with the aging population, and the Taiwanese face the same thing. So what happens if you talk about BOC, for example, you take some of the advanced product for the R&D here, whereas I think Japan and Korean and Taiwan make it quite advanced R&D. Took it to Vietnam, for example, whereas we have 101 million people, 30% of these population are young under 35. And they are in the mood of spending. Even the consuming capacity is not that great as compared with other countries, but it's still increasing. So what happened is that some of the, let's say you talk about cybersecurity, data that you can get from Vietnam to test and to prove the business model, you take back to your country. Let's say in 100,000 US dollar, how much do you wanna pay if you stay in Japan and Korea? I think around 6 months if you are a startup. But with that amount of money, I think you can test in Vietnam around a year. And with that kind of span of time that you have, you can find a good talent to build up. Because the problem with the Vietnamese is that Vietnam opened the market from 1986, and from 1996, whereas the US lifted the sanction. At that time, we are really, because we joined the WTO at that time, that where we really fly. And in Vietnam, we don't have 100 years old company that really big, but we have around 30 to 35 years old company, whereas we know and take the opportunity for the context and that period to make it big. But we just good to solve the issue. We are not really good to scale it up. So we need the senior expert from other country to help us to scale our company from this stage to this stage. So as a Vietnam as a market, the opportunity is a lot. But as a hub, we are just good for the innovation hub, which means that you show us the problem, we show you the solution, but we don't know how to scale it up because we are not been there, done that yet. So what happened is that I think I shared this one once, but I should say it again. What happened is that if you find the IT guy from Vietnam, you get the manufacturer expert from Taiwan, the Korean can do what the finance, and the Japanese can help us to do the R&D. And the Thai people can do the design, the Singaporean can do the sale. That's how we can make the Asian team that work. And the startup like this, I think it's gonna help us to make the different level, and it's gonna help and compensate the skill of what we lack up. Because to be frank, I know really well that Vietnam position we are growing. But let's say if you say we're gonna replace China for the manufacturing, forget it. Because China for the last 30 years, they make the smart manufacture. Vietnam is not there yet. So how can a US company, they move their factory to Vietnam? There's no way. But the opportunity gonna be from Japan, whereas you already developed something that really well. You need to test this is the right business model or not with the good budget. Then you go to Vietnam, you test that, you go back to Japan, and then that's how it goes. Or we do the same thing with Korean and Taiwan. And I think that's how we can connect. And one more thing, I think your government should do one job that open the opportunity, whereas the private sector can work with the government and the big corporate and accelerator with the VC for one test space that, let's say, I pour this amount of money, who can make the best efficient, get that. Or otherwise now just a player. Whereas, okay, this year I get a project, next year I'm gonna have it. And the competition is not there, and the competition may be not really healthy. So how can we make it work?
So, Tessa, thank you so much for your insightful observation. So, actually, we don't have much time, so maybe that was kind of our final message from Tan-san. I'm gonna treat it as like that. So, I think I want same thing from our boss of you guys, Isaac-san and Coach-san. So, I think that what Tan-san suggested was the number one is to increase the connectivity between all Asian countries. I think that is quite an important thing. So if we look at, for example, European countries, it's of course there's EU and it's more united, and after all, it's single market. So if we gonna, I don't know, if I'm doing the business in medical device, I can go anywhere with same regulation. So that is a beautiful part. But we don't have that kind of a regulatory system. So what we should do in order to unite each country for their single markets or our good markets, or what kind of our resources or what kind of our things you need in order to achieve that. I just want to hear your opinions on these points. Like Kochi-san, maybe?
I think maybe that's the big boss Japan need to figure out a way to collaborate. Because every time when I'm in Japan and I talk to different partners, and they will just say that, oh, Korea also already did that, and I need to learn from Korea. So sometimes I feel Korea is my competitor in Japan, but I still very good at Korean people. So I think maybe that's Japan need to be the hub and to collaborate all these countries because I think for Asia, a lot of countries they just want to come to do business in Japan.
What do you think, Isaac-san? As a competitor or friends?
In one word, like find just business partner, but we can say that we have to find the person who understand each of country's ecosystem. I can say that like in case of Korean startup who entered Japanese market, but some of them worked not well. Some of them worked well. That's about best case in Korea. Usually they found the right business partner who already lived in Japan, knows Japanese market, understand ecosystems of Japan. Oppositely, of course, the other person in Korea should understand Korean market, Korean ecosystems, etc. So I think our company also need business partners like Zero Boosters or Vietnam professionals, Taiwan professionals to understand and to collaborate, to be a friend, to make new business. So what we are focusing is like we are trying to find business partner who can give us, who can help us to gather many information, many database of Japan, including Japanese startups growth database, or sometimes enterprises open innovation needs to collaborate any startups, global startups like Taiwan, Korean, Vietnam startups. I need to collaborate with like Vietnam startups who knows Vietnam market, Vietnamese market, and also like doing some popularity business like that. So wrapping up, we need to find business partner who knows each other's size market.
So Isaac, so you meant if we work together, like all of us here, we can unite to Asia, right? That's your
We
message.
can conquer the global.
That's so nice. Okay. So anyway, thank you so much for joining this session and also giving us insightful perspectives. And maybe we can collaborate more and we can make more united ecosystem in Asia. So thank you so much, and please make a big applause to all of the panelists.
Thank you very much. ありがとうございます。
ありがとうございました。